Does your rifle fit? What does that even mean? Let's talk about it. What's up, guys? Joe here from the Scruffy Fam and Scruffy Arms. So I've had some really interesting conversations lately, but before we get into it, if you're new, go ahead, like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Helps us grow. It doesn't cost you anything. Just gets the gun troopers out on YouTube a little bit more and helps with the algorithm. So my gun business is up and running, and I've been getting a lot of really interesting questions from people as the hunting season is upon us. Okay, there's dove hunting has happened in several different states. There's other bird hunting happening. For us here in just about a week and a half is archery. Our youth hunt is just in about a month. There's all kinds of stuff happening right now, right in the thick of hunting season, and our gun season happens in early November. So as people are looking at that, you know, they're watching a lot of YouTube videos and hitting the internet, and so they're starting to make decisions on calibers and rifles and if they've got new shooters coming in. And some people have asked me, they're like, I don't know if this rifle will fit insert person, or I don't know if it'll fit me. And so we have to define what rifle fitment means before we really get into it, because there's a lot of things you can do if you understand what you're looking for. And when we look at rifle fitment, I think we can make a parallel to clothes, okay? So clothes have a general sizing, right? So like shirts, for example, extra small, small, medium, large, extra large, so on and so forth. There's a generality of sizes. Unless you go and get one that is perfectly measured and sized to you and created just for you, it's a generality, okay? And so they make a generality of sizes that most people understand, and we purchase those things based on our experience, okay? In firearms, it's about the same way. Usually what will happen is someone will find a manufacturer, find the type of rifles they like, and they'll go to a shop and shoulder a bunch of them like, oh, this feels okay. And they'll usually lean towards purchasing just that brand because that's what's worked for them before, or that's what their family has had forever, and that's just what they have molded themselves to. Now, the first time you get a custom shirt or custom shoes or anything that's custom made to you and it fits you just right, it is a world of difference. And you notice the quality and the feel and the function of it so much better. The same thing is true with firearms. In firearms manufacturing, in the bulk manufacturing, there are generality of sizes that they adhere to, that they put out based on an average of the populace that they're serving. So when we talk about fitment, there's a couple things that we need to understand. Okay, first is it's how it fits from your shoulder to your cheek. Okay, so that's the first part of fitment, shoulder to cheek. Next is from elbow to trigger pull. So when you're shouldered and you're up and you're looking through, you have your cheek down, where is your trigger finger? Where is your hand? That length of pull is what that is, okay, from shoulder to trigger. Okay, and the last piece is optic height, okay, and small, medium, large, optic height, okay? So that's what we need to talk about when we talk about fitment. Now, some people can go with a manufacturer's rifle and be perfectly fine. It fits them great, and that's what they use. Some people need to change a few things. So let's talk about that a little bit. I'm going to show you guys a factory rifle. I'm going to show you guys a fully customized rifle, and we'll kind of talk about what the differences are between the two when it comes to feel and fit. Okay? So first up, I'm going to show you guys my Winchester Model 70. So we'll be right back. All right, so here we go. This is my Winchester Model 70, and this is a stock rifle. So this came just like this. There's been no modifications done to it. It has what we call a Monte Carlo style stock, which has this little bend out here. This is for your cheek weld. Okay, so this is a factory stock. So what we're looking for, remember, we said shoulder, cheek, and length of pull. If we look at this and how it fits to me, my cheek rests a little bit farther back, okay, a little bit farther back, and my length of pull, my finger actually can curve all the way around the trigger, okay? So this, for me, the length of pull is a little short. See how I really have to dip this down to get a decent one? In a good length of pull, I would be all the way up and be able to get that 90-degree pull without a lot of manipulation to myself or the firearm. Now, I will make accommodations because this is one of my dream rifles. This still feels great when I hold it and when I shoot it, but there are differences between this factory configuration and my custom one. Now, this does have a sweeping comb. This handles recoil really, really well, and it feels really good to hold. When I shoulder this and I get behind it and I get everything set the way I'm supposed to, there's no doubt in my mind that I will make the shot that I need to make when it comes time. But when I'm spending a lot of time at the range behind this, I have to make a lot of accommodations to how I'm shooting. If I'm only going to shoot a couple times, that's perfectly fine. I can get a good shot on target and harvest the animal that I'm hunting. But I am making accommodations to make this fit a little bit better, and I'm trying to fit myself to the rifle instead of fitting the rifle to me. Also, I'm limited by the type of optic I can use because I don't have a way to lift this comb height. These are medium rings. I could use low rings or medium rings. If I use low rings, I'm actually making contact here, and I don't have good bolt throw clearance with low rings. So I had to use medium rings on this, and those medium rings still fit me as far as optic height, but it's pushing it pretty close to what is unacceptable. High rings on here would not work because I would have to come up on top and I'd get a chin weld instead of a good cheek weld. Okay? So this is a factory configuration. There's been no modifications to this shy of putting the Picatinny rail on. That's the only modification that's been done to this rifle. So let's talk about two types of, actually, I'll show you guys one other modification rifle, and I'll show you some variations of what we can do, okay? So hold on. All right, so this is my Ruger American Go Wild in 6.5 Creedmoor. And as you can see, this is in a chassis system, okay? This isn't a pretty aggressive chassis system. There are other just upgraded stocks, but this is an MDT Oryx chassis. This is kind of your entry level into the fancy chassis world. Not super expensive, really easy to do, but this can make it so that your length of pull, your cheek height, all kinds of things are readily adjustable. So let's talk about the first thing. So length of pull. If you look back here, there's spacers that you can add to push it back or remove spacers to bring it forward. Here, this, with one tool, you can bring this up and down so you can get a better cheek weld. So if you guys notice, when I get behind this, look where my finger is now. My finger's right at the trigger as opposed to being all the way forward, okay? So when I shoulder this, I've got a nice rest for my thumb. I'm here, my cheek rests in a really good spot. This fits me much, much better. If I wanted to have additional space, I could add spacers, but where we're at in Wisconsin, once hunting season comes, I'm wearing a lot of jackets. So if this looks like my finger's a little bit farther forward, it's because this is set up for when I've got my heavy jackets on for hunting. Okay, so this is a modular type design, which allows you to really, really customize your length of pull and your cheek weld. But this is just one type, and this is fixed. So this part here is fixed. You can't make this even shorter. So let's show you another type of design, and then one more other modular one, and we'll kind of wrap it all. All right, so this is my Ruger American Ranch in 7.62 by 39. And this type of chassis is an extremely modular chassis. This is by Sharp Brothers. This is their Heat Seeker chassis. And what I really like about this one is you can change out the grip. I've got a vertical grip on here. You can also put a collapsible style stock on it, so I can really adjust the length of pull several different ways for whoever's shooting it or whatever other equipment that we have. So I have an actual pretty long length of pull, so it's nice that I can have this thing fully back and get a good cheek weld to get on my optic. My wife doesn't have as long of one, so we can collapse it down one for her. If my son's shooting, I can collapse it all the way down for him. This type is extremely modular, and many companies make the ones that you can have these collapsible stocks. One downside to this one is I don't have the adjustable cheek piece on here. They do make these type of extendable butt pieces that have that modular type lifting for the cheek weld that I would probably recommend. I'm becoming more and more of a fan of these type of chassis, even for budget rifles, because you can make the rifle fit you, not you fit the rifle, and that is huge. If you'll notice, these rings are a little bit higher because I've got this two-piece thing on here. This is a 7.62 by 39. It recoils, I think, with this muzzle brake on. I think the felt recoil on this is only like 3 pounds, if that. This thing does not recoil at all. So one of the cool things when you're behind this, if you notice, my eye is lined up with the optic, and I've got a good cheek weld. Because this type of chassis, it drops everything down lower than you would have on a traditional one, where it'd be up a little bit higher. So that's why you've got those types of rings on there. But I really like this modular collapsible design. I'm becoming a fan of these. The biggest issue that comes with these types of chassis though is it comes in a bunch of different pieces that you have to configure yourself. It's not really a turnkey option. You need several different pieces. I think this chassis came with the housing for the action and the barrel. It came with the foregrip. Separately was the handguard and all of the material in the back. Okay, but this is another type of one that you can adjust the length of pull to make fit you a little bit better, and adjust the grip to make it a little bit easier for a trigger pull. Okay, so that is this type. There's one final type that I'll show you, and that'll be next. All right, this last one, this is my Ruger American Standard in 243, and this is in a Magpul Hunter stock. Okay, so this isn't a chassis system per se. It is just an upgraded stock. And the cool thing about this is you've got length of pull adjustment and comb height adjustment. It is a modular stock design, which is pretty nice. This stock will fit any of the short action Ruger Americans for the most part. The only difference between this and the last one I showed you is there's no adjusting this on the fly. You have to use tools, take all this apart, adjust the length of pull, put everything back down. Same thing with this comb thing here. You can get a low, medium, and high comb, but they don't make this easy lift up and down thing where it's a one quick tool or toolless. So this, once you get it set, is set for one person. If someone else was to get behind this, you'd have to totally change this up for them, okay? The great thing about this though, is as you remove and put pieces in, if you look, now my length of pull is right where it should be. Everything is set up the way that it should, and my cheek height is great for my optic. All right, so this is another type. This is more of a stock than a chassis. While it is adjustable, it's usually only adjustable to one person, and once you get it set, it's usually set for that one person. Much like that MDT Oryx chassis, once you get that set for someone, the length of pull is very hard to change, but the cheek height, one quick tool with an Allen wrench, and you can bring it up and down to change it to someone. Then also the Sharp Brothers, you do have that extendable one, but you can also buy a different buttstock for that. That's the one I bought because I knew I was going to be primarily shooting it, and I have it set to me. There are upgrades you can get to that. MDT actually makes a really cool one that is toolless, that you can raise the cheek height and the back end. If that's something you're gonna have several people shooting it, I would probably upgrade to that. But these are some different types of options that you can make the rifle fit to you as opposed to you fitting to the rifle. So let's wrap it up. All right, guys, so I showed you several of the different types of chassis or stocks that you can use to make your rifle fit you better. And we kind of defined what that fitment means. So let's talk about when you would get a completely different stock and chassis system and when you wouldn't. And I would have to say that it is all personal choice and preference. If you have one rifle that you use for everything, it's your target plinking rifle, it's your hunting rifle, and that's what you got, I would highly recommend that you look into upgrading the stock for it to be something that fits you really, really well. Especially if you're in more of the budget end rifles. If you spent $800 or less on your rifle, where the manufacturers cut costs is making one-piece bolts and making a little bit lower quality stocks, okay? You can find really good actions, really good barrels, really good triggers. All of that will be really good, but where they cut the cost is usually in the stock. Injection molded or just straight plastic laid. Not always the best thing. There's a lot of flex to them. There's a lot of give. They break easy. So in those, I would say it doesn't hurt to upgrade that stock and just make it fit you really, really well. You notice I talked about Ruger Americans a lot. Actually, all three chassis I showed you today had Ruger Americans in them. I've done several videos on the Ruger American, what I like about it, what I dislike about it, and my biggest dislike has always been the stock. It just doesn't fit me right. The cheek weld is not good, the length of pull is not good for me, and so I've upgraded all of my Ruger Americans to a different chassis that makes it fit so much better. Now I have a Ruger M77 that I needed to increase the length of pull, and putting the factory stock back on it and taking out the McMillan stock that was on it made it fit me even better. So sometimes the factory configuration will fit you well. I would say my Model 70 is a collector's edition. It's a limited edition one. I will not be taking that out of its stock and putting it into a chassis system. I won't do it. If for some reason the wood just warps or cracks or breaks or anything, then I may come into that consideration, but as it is now, it is staying like it is because I'm not going to mess with it. But there are options and affordable options to make your rifle fit you. And one of the things that I can do as a gunsmith is really direct people and guide people on the right path to rifle fitment. Because if your rifle fits you, there's a couple things you're going to do. One, you're going to take it to the range more, you're going to shoot more, you're going to enjoy it more, you're going to be able to handle the recoil more, and you're going to have more success when you go out to the field and you shoulder that rifle to get ready to harvest that animal than if you're having to do all this weird stuff to get settled onto it. So guys, if you've got a custom rig, you probably know what I'm talking about. If you've already upgraded your chassis, you've got adjustability on yours, tell me what you got, tell me what you went with. Tell me if you like the stock configuration of your rifle. If you don't like it, what part of it don't you like? Let's have a conversation. It just helps out the whole community. And if you guys want to check out what I'm doing at my firearms business, super easy, scruffyarms.com. And I thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.